You're about to discover why every lean bulk you've ever started fell apart, and it has almost nothing to do with your training program, your genetics, or how much you ate. The real reason you keep failing to build muscle is sitting inside a book that never once mentions the gym. It's a book about habits. It has sold more than 25 million copies. It's been translated into more than 60 languages, and almost nobody in fitness is telling you what it actually means for your body. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete system, not a list of tips, that makes building muscle feel almost automatic. Stick with me to the end, because the last habit I cover is the one quietly stealing your gains right now. Here's the uncomfortable part. Building muscle isn't a fitness problem. It's a behavioral psychology problem. You already know you need to eat in a surplus. You already know protein matters. You've watched 100 videos that told you exactly what to do, and you still haven't done it for 12 straight weeks. That gap, the space between knowing and doing, is the only thing standing between you and the body you want. Today you're going to close it, using the exact framework from James Clear's Atomic Habits. Start with the one idea that should change how you see your entire bulk. Your goals are not what carry you. Your systems are. You've set the goal before. New year, new program, this time for real. And the goal was never the problem. You didn't lack a target. You lacked a structure that survived a bad day. Goals are about the result you want. Systems are about the process that gets you there. And here's the part that stings. Winners and losers often share the exact same goals, so the goal can't be what separates them. The difference is always the system running underneath. You don't fail your bulk because you lack discipline. You fail because you're running on motivation, and motivation is a feeling, and feelings don't show up every single day for months. Habits do. Let me show you why that matters, with simple math. Imagine you get 1% better at your nutrition every day for a year. Not dramatically better, just 1%. By the end of that year, compounding makes you nearly 38 times better than where you started. Now flip it. Get 1% worse each day, skip the tracking, guess your portions, and you decay down toward almost nothing. Your muscle isn't built in one heroic week of perfect eating. It's built by the boring meals you repeat on the days you don't feel like it. That's the whole game. Let me give you a real example of how powerful this is. Back in 2003, British Cycling hired a coach named Dave Brailsford, and his whole philosophy was the aggregation of marginal gains. He didn't chase one massive breakthrough. He hunted for 1% improvements everywhere he could find them. Better pillows so the riders slept deeper, a specific hand-washing technique so they caught fewer colds. He even had the inside of the team truck painted white so they could spot dust that might affect bike performance. Tiny, almost laughable details. And within a few years, British cyclists were dominating the Olympics and winning the Tour de France. That is what 1% compounded actually looks like. Now point that same lens at your own body. So let's take the 4 laws from Atomic Habits and bolt them directly onto your nutrition. The first law is to make it obvious. A habit needs a clear cue, and right now your eating has no cue, which is exactly why it's chaos. This is where you learn how to calculate macros, and you only have to do it once. Set your protein first, because protein is the macro that actually builds the tissue. The research here is settled. A landmark meta-analysis by Morton and colleagues pooled 49 studies and more than 1,800 people and found the benefit of protein plateaus around 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. So aim for somewhere between 1.6 and 2.2 grams per kilogram, and you've covered your bases. Then set your calories. A clean, lean bulk doesn't mean eating everything in sight. It means a controlled surplus of roughly 200 to 500 calories above maintenance, or about 10 to 20%. Let me make this concrete, because the numbers scare people off for no reason. Say you weigh 80 kilograms. Protein first, at 2 grams per kilogram, puts you at 160 grams a day. Now your calories. Let's say your maintenance is 2,500 calories, so you add a small surplus and land at 2,800. Your protein is already 160 grams, and that's 640 calories accounted for. Set your fat at about a quarter of your total for healthy hormones, which lands around 75 grams. Whatever calories are left over, go to carbs to fuel your training, which puts you near 350 grams. And that's it. You just calculated your macros. Protein around 160, fat around 75, carbs around 350. You never have to do that thinking again, because now it's a fixed target you repeat instead of a daily guessing game. But a number on a screen isn't a habit yet. The trick is to attach your eating to cues that already exist in your day. Clear calls this habit stacking. You already wake up, so your protein-heavy breakfast stacks onto waking up. You already commute or start work, so your second meal stacks onto that. You already train, so your post-workout meal stacks onto walking out of the gym. You stop relying on remembering, because the structure of your day becomes the reminder. And here's a detail most people miss. A study from Dr. Padden Jones found that spreading your protein evenly across your meals, around 30 grams at a time, produced a 25% higher rate of muscle protein synthesis over a day compared to cramming it all into one giant dinner. So stacking protein across the day isn't just easier to remember, it literally builds more muscle. The second law is to make it attractive. You're far more likely to stick to something you actually want to do, so stop framing your bulk as punishment. There's a trick for this called temptation bundling, where you pair the habit you need with something you already crave. You only watch your favorite show while you're prepping your meals for the week. You only listen to that one podcast on the walk to buy your groceries. Suddenly, the boring task carries a reward, and you start looking forward to it. But the deeper lever here is identity. Every meal you log is a small vote for the kind of person you're becoming. You're not trying to bulk, you are someone who feeds their training. When you start seeing each tracked meal as proof of who you are, the behavior stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like you. That shift from chasing a goal to embodying an identity is the single most powerful idea in the entire book. The third law is to make it easy. And this is where most lean bulks are quietly won or lost. Your brain is wired to choose the path of least resistance. So your job is to make the right choice the easy choice. Clear has a rule called the 2-minute rule. Shrink the habit until starting it takes 2 minutes or less. You don't have to meal prep the whole week. You just have to cook the chicken. Once the chicken's cooked, the rest follows, because starting is the hard part, and you've already started. Then design your environment so the muscle-building choice is the obvious one. Put the protein at eye level in the fridge. Keep a shaker and your scale on the counter where you can't miss them. Pre-portion your meals on Sunday so a high-protein lunch is something you reach for, not something you have to build from scratch while you're hungry and tired and one bad decision away from ordering a pizza. Every gram of friction you remove is a gram of consistency you gain. That's the real secret of how to lean bulk without burning out by week 3. Not more effort, less friction. If you'd rather skip the guesswork, I already built this entire system for you. My Lean Bulk program gives you the macros, the meal templates, and the exact habit stack, ready on day 1. Hit the link in the description and start today. The fourth law is to make it satisfying. The problem with building muscle is that the reward is brutally delayed. You eat perfectly for 2 weeks and the mirror barely moves, so your brain wants to quit. Clear calls this the valley of disappointment, the stretch where you're putting in the work, but the visible results haven't caught up yet. Picture an ice cube sitting in a freezing room as the temperature slowly climbs. 25 degrees, 26, 27, nothing happens. Then it hits 32 degrees, and suddenly the ice starts to melt. Nothing about that final degree was special. All the earlier work was being stored up, waiting to cross a threshold. Your muscle works the exact same way, so your job is to give yourself a reward you can feel today while the real results build underneath. Track your meals in an app and watch the streak grow, because not breaking the chain becomes its own small hit of satisfaction. Take weekly photos and a weekly average of your weight and aim to gain something slow, like 1/4 to 0.5% of your body weight per week. When you see that number creep up on schedule, you get proof the system is working long before your shirt fits differently. Now here's the half of the system almost nobody applies, and it matters just as much. Building good habits is only one side of the coin. You also have to break the bad ones. And you do that by running those same 4 laws in reverse. The first law flips to make it invisible. If the junk food isn't in your house, you can't eat it at 11 at night, so stop fighting your cravings with raw willpower and just stop buying the stuff. Out of sight, out of stomach. The second law flips to make it unattractive. Remind yourself what a dirty bulk actually cost you, the sluggish workouts, and the extra fat you'll spend months grinding back off later. The third law flips to make it difficult. Add friction to the wrong choice. Delete the food delivery apps off your phone so ordering takeout takes 10 annoying minutes instead of 2 easy taps. And the fourth law flips to make it unsatisfying. Tell a friend your plan or put a little money on the line. So slipping carries a cost you actually feel. You're not just building the right habits, you're dismantling the ones quietly sabotaging you. Now let's talk about the thing you probably came here looking for, because you've typed best supplements for muscle growth into a search bar at least once. Here's the honest answer most channels won't give you. Supplements are the last few percent. They're the law of marginal gains, not the foundation. If your habits are broken, no powder on earth will save you. But once your system is locked in, a few proven tools help. Creatine monohydrate is the most researched, and it actually works. A quality protein powder makes hitting that 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram dramatically easier, which loops right back to making the habit easy. That's the correct order. Build the system first, then let the supplements add their small edge on top. Never the other way around. And there's one habit that quietly controls all of this, and you're probably neglecting it: sleep. Research from Dattilo and colleagues found that cutting your sleep below about 6 hours can drop your muscle protein synthesis by roughly 18%. Read that again. You can nail your macros perfectly and still leave nearly a fifth of your gains on the table because you stayed up scrolling. So make sleep a non-negotiable habit, stacked onto a fixed bedtime, treated with the same seriousness as your training. This is the habit I warned you about at the start, and it's probably the cheapest gains you'll ever find. And here's the final piece that turns all of this from a guess into a machine. A system isn't something you set once and forget. It's something you check and adjust. So every week, you weigh yourself each morning and take the average, because daily weight bounces around from water and food and means nothing on its own. If that weekly average is climbing slowly, you're in the sweet spot, so you keep going. If you're shooting up too fast, you're gaining fat, so you trim 100 calories. If the scale hasn't moved in 2 or 3 weeks, you add 100. That's the entire feedback loop. You're not relying on hope, you're reading the data your body gives you and steering. That is what separates the people who actually build muscle from the people who start over every single January. So here's where this leaves you. You came in thinking you needed a better program, a stricter diet, or more motivation. You don't. You need a better system. Calculate your macros once and make them obvious. Tie your eating to cues you already have. Make the right meal the easy meal by killing the friction, and make the wrong one hard. Reward the streak so the slow days still feel like wins, and cast every single meal as a vote for the person you're becoming. Do that, and consistency stops being something you force, and starts being something you are. Your muscle was never waiting on a perfect week. It was always waiting on a system you could actually repeat. Now you've got one. Go build it. And if you'd rather have it built for you, my Lean Bulk program is in the description, ready when you are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.